Hey, what's up everybody, and welcome back to another episode in my Ancestry series.
I need to actually come up with a name for this series, y'all. Have any ideas of what I should name my Ancestry series? Drop them down below. Drop them, okay? Because we about to get it cracking.
If you tuned into my last video, I did a review on the Ancestry DNA family tree building aspect of their service. So if you want to hear like my actual review and all of that stuff, check out that video. I'll have it linked in the description box and probably somewhere on the screen as well. Today, I'm actually going to do my own personal review of the Ancestry DNA family tree building, in the sense that I'm just going to talk about some things that I found out about my own personal family through Ancestry DNA. If you are not familiar with what I'm talking about, Ancestry DNA, besides actual DNA kits, they offer you a service to build family trees. Build the tree is free, but the membership to get access to all of the public records does cost a monthly fee. Like I said, if you want my whole review on all of that stuff, then check out my latest video. I'm just gonna get right into things that I have learned through Hints, Story Scout, and just overall tree building on the app.
I have my notes here, so if I'm looking down...
So I guess that I should just start by saying that I've only been building my family tree for not even 2 weeks at this point. And I have over 200 people. It might be more than that at this point, but the last time I checked, I had over 200 people already on my family tree. Because you can add any and everybody. Once you get started, the hints on the app, they start to generate more people that you could possibly be related to, and you can just start filling in the blanks with those people. Before I started building my family tree, I knew very minimal about my family. I don't have any living grandparents. My parents were older when they had me, and my grandparents are all passed away. I lost my last grandparent in 2011. So I don't have any living grandparents to ask any information of. So I'm literally just going off of the things that I did know from my grandparents, specifically my granny before she passed, and then the little random information that I might have gotten from my parents or aunts and uncles and stuff like that. So I really didn't have anywhere to start. And not only that, before I took my Ancestry DNA test on 23andMe, I'll have that video linked somewhere as well, I didn't even have any type of inclination as to what I was mixed with. So this for me has been a very liberating. It has been interesting. It has been mind-boggling. It has been frustrating at times. It has been a whirlwind of emotions figuring out who I am on a genetic level. So with that being said, the information that I already had before, I knew my grandparents' names and I knew 2 of my great grandmother's names, and that was about it. I really didn't know anything about my mother's paternal side or my father's paternal side, and it wasn't because they didn't grow up with a father. Their fathers were around, but I just feel like my parents just didn't have the luxury of caring about where their people came from. They were dealing with other issues in life, in the world, and that was just something that our parents, grandparents, they didn't have the luxury to care about that type of stuff. So I feel like that's why it's my duty to compile my entire family tree and be the keeper of these records, so that when I do become somebody's grandma, they can come to me and be like, "Grandma, who is my great Aunt Capernia?" And I could be like, "Oh yeah, this is her," you know what I'm saying? So whatever. I want to be able to just have this information to pass on to generations to come, and I want to do all this work now so my kids won't have to, my grandkids. They'll be able to grow with the pride of knowing who they are already. They won't have to go on a search to figure out who they are. You get what I'm saying? Okay, so the main things that I found that were able to connect me to people in my family tree in the public records were census records, because y'all know that they was keeping up with the black folks back then. And not only that, I do have white in my heritage. If you watched my 23andMe ancestry reveal, yeah, so I do actually have some white, and I'll get to that in a second because I kind of it's a rabbit hole, y'all. Going down this spiral of building a family tree, y'all, it's like Alice in Wonderland, okay? So I'll get into that in a second. So the main things I found were census records, marriage certificates, social security claims, death records, and I think that was it. I think those were like the main things, like as far as public record go, that I was able to find, that was able to connect me to a lot of people. I didn't know anything at all about my dad's dad. He died when I was 4 years old, and I never really knew this man. And from what my dad tells me, like, he didn't really know much about him either. Like, you know, that was his dad, but like I said, they didn't have the luxuries of caring about where they came from in that sense. You know what I'm saying? So my daddy grew up on a farm. They had to like raise chickens and cows, and they had an outhouse. They didn't even have a bathroom. My grandmother's house got swept away by a tornado before. They're from Arkansas, so didn't know any of his dad's parents or anything like that. So the way that I was able to start building on my grandfather's tree with absolutely no information is just I picked and prodded. I asked my aunt and my dad random questions about anybody they might have known in their family, and my dad told me about an uncle that he had remembered meeting before. He knew his name, and that was all it took to start connecting the dots. So on the ancestry tree building part, any information that you have is helpful, and I say that like with so much conviction. Any information, anything. All I knew, my dad told me his uncle's name, and that he knew at some point in time he lived in Chicago, and I was able to find a man with that name in Chicago that was also matched to a census with my grandfather's name back when they were still living in Arkansas as boys. Otherwise, I wouldn't have been able to find anything. So right now, my dad's dad side of the family is the second farthest part of the tree that I've gotten on. My mom's dad, I got further back on her side, and I'll get into that in a minute and why I think that's the case. But literally, I knew nothing about his family. So I'm about to go and look just real quick and see how far back I've gotten so far. So right now, I have gotten back to my great grandmother so far on my dad's paternal side, and that was with only knowing my grandfather's name to begin with. So this app definitely helps y'all. Like, I didn't know nothing about this man. For real. On my mother's paternal side, I've been able to go back the furthest thus far, and I'm still going further back. Right now, and on her paternal side, I'm already into the early 1600s, and I still have hints for more people. And the reason why I think it was so easy to find out things about his side of the family is because, come to find out, some of those ancestors were actually slave owners. So I actually got back into the census where they were, you know, claiming their slaves. For those census, you have to have what race the people living in your home were or living on your property were. And if they were slaves, you had to make note of that, what age they were, what gender they were. I'll have a screenshot of an example on here so you can just kind of see what I'm talking about. But yeah, I got back to that part, and then I also went on Google, and apparently these people were some of the first settlers in North Carolina, so they have like their own genealogy site and stuff dedicated to these people. So I was able to find a lot more information to confirm and build off of what I found. I actually don't have access to the international records. When I signed up for my free trial, I just signed up for the US records because I don't know why, but I just really didn't think that I would need to look at international records. But I've gotten back to the point now where people in my family tree are definitely migrating here. And I knew that I had white in me from taking my ancestry test over on 23andMe. So I wasn't totally surprised, but it's still kind of like surreal to like see it on paper. Like, damn, these people are my relatives. I still haven't figured out where the black and the white mixed. I haven't made that correlation yet because On the census, you can be listed as white, Negro or colored, or mulatto. So I'm still trying to figure out where exactly in there my people started mixing. But yeah, there's some white people in my family who did heinous crimes against other people in my family, and that pretty much sucks. So yeah. Now, like I said, if you watched my review of the ancestry services that they offer, you will see that they have a feature called Story Scout on Ancestry. So what you do with Story Scout is you input your grandparents' names, and then they pull stories about people in your ancestry line and compile them into one place. So the stories could be something simple as just telling you your grandmother lived in such and such place during the 1930s and had a job as a mill worker or something. You know what I'm saying? It could be something as simple as that, or it could be something really cool. In my Story Scout, I have a couple of distant relatives. I actually have some pretty cool stories, although they are some of the settlers from overseas who took over this land from their rightful inhabitants. But I'm not here to bash white people, so let me just get to it, because whatever.
I have some distant relatives who were alive during the American Revolutionary War, and I still don't have a firm grasp on what like a cousin removed means. If you do know, or you can explain it to me in like dummy terms, that would be great. I've tried to look it up, and the concept is beyond me at this point. I really don't understand it. So whatever, I'll tell you about what Story Scout told me about a couple of my distant relatives.
One of my distant relatives, she is a second cousin 8 times removed, and her name is Mary Draper. She is an American heroine, and she distributed food, drink, and ammunition to the Continental Army during the American Revolutionary War. So in Story Scout, they also go on to tell me more information about her, but that's the main basis of it. So one of my distant relatives was an American heroine. And another one of my distant relatives, he is my third cousin 7 times removed, and his name is John Trumbull. John Trumbull was a patriot artist, and he also served as an aide to General George Washington during the Revolutionary War. But when I say he is a patriot artist, he is actually the artist who painted all of the portraits from the American Revolutionary War. And his crowning achievement depicts the drafting committee presenting their draft of the Declaration of Independence to Congress. He is also buried under the Yale University Art Gallery, a building that he designed to house his famous paintings. So the guy who drew all of those paintings from the American Revolutionary War that we like see in our textbooks and stuff, my distant relative made those.
No, but for real though, ain't I owe some money or something? A free scholarship to Yale or something? It's tough being black in America.
I thought those are cool. Story Scout wasn't able to pull up and find any information about my dad's side of the family. All of the stories that popped up were about my mother's side, and those 2 particular distant relatives were distant relatives of my mother's paternal side, the white folks. So some other interesting things that I discovered while trying to look up some of these documents, especially for black people, some of this stuff could be really confusing, and you know, the documents can be inaccurate. A lot of black people were illiterate, so they didn't know better anyway with record keeping, and you know, some of the information can definitely be misinterpreted or just be inaccurate. So for example, my great-grandmother could be one of 2 women, and I say that because on the census certain things match up that it could be one woman, and then certain things match up that it could be another woman. I haven't found any divorce papers in my files in any of my records, so it also could be a fact that these men were having multiple wives, multiple families. I was trying to figure out if one of 2 ladies was my great-grandmother, and I still don't know if she is, but I did find out that she was a boarder living with my family, my ancestors at some point in time, and then she went on to marry my great-grandfather. So I don't know if she was a woman that he actually had the kids with, or if it was a woman beforehand, or what the case may be. But she was boarding there at my family's home, my great-grandparents' home, with my great-grandfather living there already, if that makes sense. It could have been some infidelities going on. It could have been some shady stuff, some little backhand, little randomness. Y'all, it ain't no telling. And y'all know that when these black people were filling out their census and doing all this stuff, they were not expecting 100 years from now that I was going to be up here researching them all in their lives and stuff. You know what I'm saying? They wasn't thinking about that. That wasn't a concept for them. They were just trying to survive. So I definitely am going to have to do more research, more digging, try to figure out some more stuff, and try to put some more pieces together. One thing that I've also noticed is that I've definitely found more information on the dead than I have the living. I haven't been able to find very much about like my aunts and uncles and all that type of stuff. Not a lot of hints has popped up about them. It's been more so my grandparents, great-grandparents, blah, 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 further behind, because somebody filed for some Social Security money, some death benefits, something, you know, so a lot more of their information has been updated. My great-grandmother, the one great-grandmother that I actually knew, she was almost 100 when she died on my mother's side, her maternal grandmother. She was born in South Carolina, and after doing some digging and looking through some paperwork, at some point in her life, she left and came back. Now, I have not found any paperwork of her leaving, but there is paperwork of her migrating back here from Havana, Cuba. My great-grandmother went to Havana, Cuba. She was on a boat and she came back. Now, what she was doing in Havana, Cuba is beyond me. Beyond me, okay? She only had 2 kids, my grandmother and my great uncle. So it wasn't like she, you know, had a lot of kids to leave behind, or, y'all, I don't know what this lady was doing in Cuba, but I thought that was extremely interesting. Another thing that I like, it's one lady that I discovered on Ancestry, and she has a family tree with over 2,000 people on it, over 5,000 documents, and over 900 images. And I was able to look at her family tree and pull a lot of stuff off of hers to add to mine, because she is a part of my mother's paternal side. I'm pretty sure our great-grandparents are siblings. She has pictures and documents of her own that she's added in, so she clearly has been doing this for a really long time. I actually haven't reached out to this lady, but I have been on her stuff because her page is public and just getting pictures of my like great-great-grandmothers and, you know, all that type of stuff. So I'll put some of those pictures on here, and most of them are not actual pictures at all. They're paintings because they're so old. So that was cool to be able to see what some of my ancestors look like. I didn't know what they looked like, so her having that information on there was pretty cool to me.
I also do plan on adding pictures of my own family, the people that I do personally know, to my tree. So if you're watching this and you're my family and you're picky, you better let me know now, baby, because I'm about to put your picture up there. So just let me know. I ain't gonna do you like that, otherwise I'm going right on Facebook and stealing whatever picture your mama got.
So some of the things that they used to ask people on the census was like so out of pocket to me. Like, they had a part on one of the census. I have a screenshot of it somewhere on the screen. But one of the questions was whether the person was dumb, deaf, blind, or idiotic. Like, they ask you, you know, how long you've been married, how many marriages you've had, how many kids you've had, how many kids are still alive, where are you from, where is your dad from, where is your mother from, can you read, can you write, what's your race, if you own or rent your house, how much is your house worth, all the people that live in your house. I just couldn't believe that deaf, dumb, ignorant, or whatever thing. Y'all, I was so thrilled by that. And I think like one of my great uncles or something, he was checkmarked as that. So it was like, damn, like, was he just like slow or off? Or, I mean, you say deaf blind, dumb, or idiot. Like, what? It's just like, why would y'all group that stuff together? If they're deaf or blind, that's one thing, but then for you to put dumb and idiotic in there as well, like, this was on the United States government census, y'all. Like I said, I was able to find out a lot of random information about the people in my family. I've gone back pretty far. I've been able to find aunts and uncles, like great aunts and uncles, and just really branch out. So this app, these services are definitely worth it in my opinion. Like, I found out so much information that I otherwise would not have known, and I think that's pretty cool. I'll say I'm glad I took an ancestry test before I actually did this, because I would have been kind of shocked and like appalled by seeing those white people owning slaves, y'all. Like, that would have threw me off. It would have just threw me off, and I probably would have just thought that I was barking up the wrong tree. Like, these white people ain't my family, but yeah, they are. They definitely are. I just ordered a ancestry kit from Ancestry DNA. I've already done 23andMe, so I will have a video coming soon of just my results from the Ancestry DNA kit, and then I will also have a compare and contrast of 23andMe and Ancestry DNA as well. Beyond that, I do have an upcoming Ancestry series that I'm getting into, and it will basically just go over all of the things that I'm mixed with and just incorporate the culture. So if you've watched my Ancestry reveals, you will know that I am mostly Nigerian. Even though I'm only like 38% Nigerian, that is what I am mostly, at least according to 23andMe. So I'm going to do like a whole series around Nigeria, like me trying Nigerian food, me trying to make traditional Nigerian clothing. If you know me, you know I do DIYs on here, learning how to do Nigerian dances, you know, all that type of stuff. So I'm just going to start with, you know, Nigeria first, probably, since that's what the most I am, and then the second largest portion of my makeup is British, so I might do that one next. But I'm just gonna go down the list of everything that I'm mixed with and travel to these places, so to speak, until I actually can travel there, and that'll be a part of this series too as well. It's gonna be some fun stuff coming up, me learning about my ancestry and teaching y'all some stuff about my ancestry too in the process. So make sure you like, comment, and subscribe, and make sure you turn on the notification bell so you can be notified every time that I upload. I do have some more random stories too that I can tell y'all about some of my ancestors and family members, but today I really just wanted to focus on the things that I actually learned through the app, and I'll come back and update this more because I'm gonna have way more stuff to add, because like I said, I've only been adding to my family tree for the last week and a half. So this is literally just the stuff that I found since then. If you are interested or thinking about trying to do something like this with your family tree, do it, because you'll probably be shocked and surprised, especially for my other Black people, because we don't know anything about our ancestors. We don't know anything about our people. And for me, this is very liberating and it's fun. Like, I'm enjoying this. So I hope you're enjoying it too. But thank you so much for tuning into today's video, and I hope to see you on the next one.